Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's Natalie Ashdown here with you, and welcome to our Coaching Cafe. If you are listening to this live, then welcome to Friday, everyone. And if you're listening to this at home or at another time, I hope you enjoy our conversation this afternoon. So I always look forward to this conversation whenever we're delivering our Certificate 4 in Workplace and Business Coaching programs and other coaching programs, because it really helps us dig into powerful questions. And my question for you today is, what has cheesecake got to do with powerful questions? So I'm hoping that by the end of this webinar, you'll be really further informed about constructing powerful questions. And I think that we all might just run out to the bakery and grab a piece of cheesecake. Hopefully not. Anyway, hopefully you can all hear me. I know a number of you have popped a message in the chat box, so hopefully you can hear me and see my coaching presentation, and we'll kick off. So welcome again. As I mentioned, it's Natalie Ashdown here with you from Open Door Coaching, and today our agenda is what has cheesecake got to do with powerful questions? And today we're going to be looking at deconstructing our questions to make them more powerful. For those of you that are new to the Coaching Cafe, we are all about creating a community within Open Doors alumni and wider coaching community where we can share learning experiences and thought-provoking conversations, have a bit of fun. These are live presentations. And if you're coming back because you're a bit of a regular, welcome back, because I always love it when you all join in and join the line. You might know that I'm actually able to talk underwater and talk to myself about these topics, but I much prefer to have you guys interacting with me. So the way that we interact, simply pop a message into the chat box, and I can pick up your comments and your questions, and we can interact in that way. If you're listening and you don't have access to the chat box, that's okay. Catch up with us afterwards on Facebook, or interact with us, via any other channel that you like, particularly if you've got questions. Alrighty, so here we go. Let's talk about cheesecake. I'm not sure what your favourite cheesecake is or whether you even like cheesecake, but I definitely like cheesecake. And look at all these lovely varieties that we've got here. Yes, thank you. Thank you, John. John is already interacting. He's saying he loves cheesecake. So the reason I'm showing you this photograph of different types of cheesecake is what you can see there is they're all pretty standard when it comes to the actual picture of the cheesecake. You can see it's got the crumb on the bottom, the cheesecake in the middle, and some sort of topping. And isn't it interesting how they're all here in these pictures that I picked up? They're all round. And they've all got a triangle slice cut out of them. So I would call this stock standard cheesecake. And what we're going to have a think about is stock standard questions. So to me, the questions that we ask in coaching are a bit like cheesecake. They can be quite stock standard. They might have a little bit of variety, like the topping on the top, or the content in the middle, or the base might be chocolate or some other form of base. But really, if you look at these cheesecakes, they look all pretty similar. And, we do need our standard set of coaching questions that are in our blood that we actually apply to our coaching. And they're like our fundamental coaching questions that are in our blood. So we do need our stock standard set of questions. What I'm interested in, though, is how can we take the ingredients of cheesecake and turn it into something very special? And so the metaphor that I'm using this afternoon is how can we take the ingredients of our questions, and turn them into really special questions. And that's what we're going to share this afternoon. And I hope that you can have some practice in this, and you can jump in and talk to me about it as well. So look at what happens when we deconstruct the cheesecake. I love this picture. It's basically the same ingredients of cheesecake, but it's actually been put on the plate in various different forms, which creates an entirely different experience with the cheesecake and an entire different experience on the plate, lots of different things we're doing with it. Now, this concept came when my son and I were really into MasterChef in the early days, and they used to have this concept of deconstructing desserts and deconstructing, food. And we used to joke about it because we used to make like some sort of pavlova, for example, and to make it much more fancier, we used to just smash it up and put it on the plate, and if you basically put parts of pavlova and cheesecake on the plate, all of a sudden you got this, master chef type of dish. So the idea of deconstructing food and putting it and presenting it on the plate, got really popular around master chef, and I think it allows you to charge lots and lots of money for it too. I wouldn't be surprised. But the reason why I'm interested in this concept now is applying it to coaching. And what we can really do now is look at the core ingredients of our coaching questions. And if we actually change them up a little bit, they can have a quite a powerful effect on the type of questions we ask and the type of responses that we actually elicit from our clients. So from deconstructing cheesecake, let's talk about deconstructing questions. And when I was actually studying for my MCC, the Master Credential Coach, the International Coach Federation, this was one of the areas that I spent, because I've got nothing else to do. I spent a lot of time actually in this area, deconstructing questions. I spent a lot of time trying to make my stock questions more powerful, and I think in the end it made me a better coach. And I'll share with you the techniques that I actually used this afternoon. And I think it's something that's always interested me from then, and that if I want to doodle or I'm thinking or I'm writing something around coaching, I'm always trying to deconstruct it so it sounds even better. And that's the kind of metaphor that we're using today. So jump in, tell me if that's starting to resonate with you. Tell me if you're starting to think about cheesecake at lunchtime and other thoughts that might be coming up. So let's take a look at what it means to actually deconstruct questions and make them more powerful. So what we're looking at is take a look at our stock questions, like what would you like to achieve? Now we need to ask that question, don't we, to start off our coaching conversation, or even, throughout the coaching conversation. But thank you. Sorry, I got distracted. Mary Bell says, I love cheesecake and questions, so the fusion will be delicious, I guess. Absolutely. Oh, I love that idea of fusing questions together too. Thanks, Mary Bell. So we're thinking about our stock standard questions. What would you like to achieve? Now, if I swap that word achieve for the word focus, look how the question actually changes. And this is where we can become quite powerful in our questions. So what would you like to achieve? You could change that to what would you like to focus on? So you can see the question actually, when you use the word focus, it changes the meaning of the question. And of course, it then allows people to not just talk about the broad, like what would you like to achieve? I'd like to achieve lots of different things. What would you like to focus on in this conversation is actually a much more targeted question. It's a little bit more powerful in that context. Now, have a look at if we swap out what would to how would. We keep the word focus, but we swap it the word what for how. So I'm taking the core ingredients, I'm just swapping them around, putting them on the plate in a different way and swapping some different words. Now we get the question, how would you like to focus? So I actually, when I did some deconstruction of questions, I starting my coaching conversations just to test this with, it's lovely to catch up with you today. How would you like to focus today? What a powerful question to kick off a coaching conversation. We built rapport, etc. And then I might say, okay, Ken, so how would you like to focus today? It's a lovely question to really get to the point. You could ask, what would you like to achieve? It's a great question. It's one of our blood questions, in our blood kind of questions. But we're swapping out words now to see if we can make it more powerful. Look what happens when I swap out the word how for where. So it's great to see you today, Jill, and I'm wondering, where would you like to focus? Now, where it's a fantastic question to swap into a word when we're doing deconstruction. To swap into a sentence, because where is expansive. It's like, where are my car keys? It makes the person actually go looking for. So if I say, where are my car keys, or where are you? I'm looking for you. I want to know where you are in space and time. So if we ask this question, for example, at the start of a coaching conversation, where would you like to focus? There's an expanse across which the client can look and decide where they'd like to focus. Let me know if that's making sense to you. So we're taking the question from what would you like to achieve to where would you like to focus, or how would you like to focus. If you take the word where and you continue with that theme, then a lovely, more powerful question is, where will you get the most value today? Now, I love that question because quite often executive coaching clients that I'm working with, they are thinking about the conversation in terms of where can they get the most value out of the conversation. We have both put aside our time. We've put aside our time to catch up, to have this coaching conversation. So what's going to give the coachee the most value is what I'm thinking about. And the coachee is thinking about, where can I get the most value out of the conversation? So what a fantastic, we could start the coaching conversation with, what would you like to achieve? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But what if we actually said, hello, Maribel, great to see you today. Where will you get the most value from our conversation today? It's a more powerful question, and it's a much more targeted and directed question. And that's actually what we're thinking about. And the idea of expanding their thinking across where all the different ways, where could they get the most value, kind of makes them think about, what the conversation's going to be about and how they might actually maximize the value of the conversation. Of course, if you ask a question like that at the beginning or in the beginning of a conversation, you can always check back in at the end in terms of, how did you go? How did you feel in terms of the value that you got from the conversation? Or where did you get the most value? You can actually ask that again at the end of the conversation. And when we're thinking about extending our coaching and stretching our coaching and making our coaching questions more powerful, this is actually an ICF core competency, to have direct questions, but to also ask powerful questions. This is the way that I actually went about trying to make my questions more powerful. And, it's a bit of fun to kind of find out what you came up with. Sometimes you come up with absolute gobbledygook, like it doesn't make sense. But, it's good to have a play with it. So let me know if that's resonating with you, if these ideas are making sense to you. Maribel says, I like the idea of expansive in form. She hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Maribel, because I actually hadn't thought about it either until I really got into it, that we could, the use of the words and how they expand. Yeah. Thank you. Other thoughts or questions? So in our coaching programs, when we've actually got time, I actually encourage people to sit down and take stock questions, and then to really give them, the once over in terms of deconstruction, and to work together to do that. When I was actually going through my MCC training or mentoring, this is what I actually did. So I worked with a mentor group, and we got our stock questions and we shared them with each other, and we kind of started to stretch them. But then I just kind of spent some extra time doing it, just to kind of not master it, but to really kind of help to stretch my thinking. Alrighty. So let's have a look at how deconstructing questions can be really powerful. And I've got another question here. And what you do when you're actually thinking about deconstructing questions is you look at the ingredients of the questions, as we talked about with cheesecake. And then we're thinking about, how can we swap those ingredients in or out in order to make a delicious question? And as Maribel says, it's the fusion of cheesecake and questions, make our questions much more delicious. So what we're talking about here is it's a bit like cheesecake. You know, it's a cheesecake, but if you swap the bottom crumb for chocolate, it could be more delicious. If you swap the top of the cake for different toppings, it can make it even more delicious. And the middle, of course, there's so many different things you can do with the middle to make the cheesecake even more delicious. So that's what we're talking about. When we're deconstructing our questions, we're going to swap these words in and out and see what we can do in terms of how they can be more powerful. So here's a question that we are going to ask quite often actually in our coaching. What strengths can you call upon to help you in this situation? Lovely question. I absolutely love it. We use it all the time in strengths-based coaching. We use it all the time in our coaching conversations. So what strengths can you call upon to help you with this situation? And for those of you that are tracking the ICF core competencies, you will know that this is linked to calling upon the resources of your client. So you're calling on the resources and the strengths of your client. And you're leveraging that from a competency point of view into the coaching conversation. And I'm sorry, I should have mentioned at the very beginning, for those of you that are doing your ICF credentials, then yes, thank you for asking the question there, John. Yes, this presentation, being on the line with us for this time, actually entitles you to CCE units, and there's no charge for those. So if you want your certificate that you've done some coach development and coach training, you can just contact us for that. So no problems at all. Okay, so deconstructing questions, excellent. Yes, I know, they're really important. And by clocking these, I mean, these are only half-hour sessions, but if you start clocking them because we do them every week, then in no time, well, I shouldn't say no time, but, you know, you will be able to clock up the number of hours you need to renew your credentials as well. So, yeah, you're welcome. Alrighty, let's take a look at deconstructing our questions. Yeah, I can. Thank you, John. I can come back to that at the end of the conversation too. He's asking how many hours and can we get them done by the 31st. So yes, I'll talk about that as well. Thank you. Deconstructing questions. Here we go. So let's take a look at our stock question, and let's take a look at how we might make these questions more powerful. So what I've done is, you can see with the colours, what I've done is these colours here represent parts of the question that you can actually manipulate in order to make the question more powerful. And that's what we're really focusing on. So I can focus on the strengths bit of the question. Can you call upon or help you? So these are the parts of the question. And of course, I could do situation as well. I could also change out the word what, as we've just talked about as well. But let's just take a look at those main parts of it and see what we can look at. So instead of the word strengths, of course, there's lots of different words for the word strengths, isn't it? So you might say, what qualities can you call upon to help you in this situation? What traits? What about if we use the word values? Now, that's a very powerful question. What values can you call upon to help you in this situation? You can hear from the question that we're digging deeper now with the client. And when I use that word, you'll hear my voice drop as well. So those of you that are actually, thinking about tone of voice and conversation and speed, then this will make a difference as well. What unique strengths can you call upon, or unique abilities can you call upon? So there's a lot of power in swapping out the word strengths for different words there. Look, if I now target the word can, I could swap out the word must. What strengths must you call upon to help you in this situation? What strengths, so instead of what strengths can you, it kind of makes us think about, well, what do we have available? I could do this, or I could do this. But what if I swapped the word will? So what strengths will you call upon to help you in this situation? Now we're getting down to the tic-tacs in terms of I will do this. So we're looking for commitment here in the question. It moves it from kind of thinking about it to more of a commitment-based question. We could throw in a couple of extra words here, which the ICF at the highest levels will not like, because they like your questions to be shorter and sharper. But if you actually swapped out can for is it essential that. So what strengths is it essential that you call upon to help you in this situation? You can see now we're talking about a slightly different take on the concept of calling upon your strengths. So now it's about what is it essential that you call upon, or what will you or must you call upon? So it gives a sense of urgency to the actual question. Instead of call upon, because call is quite simple and quite straightforward, that's totally fine, but you might swap out the word for what strengths can you draw upon. What about this question? I loved this just when I was playing around with it. I went for rely upon. So when people are really striving, or they're really focusing on achieving this, on achieving certain goals, then it's a lovely question to actually ask: what strengths can you rely upon, or depend upon, or summon to the situation? So it kind of gives us this idea that we're summoning our strengths, or that we can draw on them, that we can depend on these strengths. They're lovely questions. It gives the sentence and the question just a lot more power when we ask those questions. If we swap out the word help, we could swap that for what strengths can you call upon to help you in this situation? What strengths can you depend upon to assist you in this situation, to grow you, to propel you? What strengths can you rely upon to redeem you in this situation? What strengths can you draw upon to rescue the situation? There's so many different words. So the word help can be swapped out for assist, or rescue, or redeem, or grow, or propel. You could literally get out your thesaurus and just start swapping these words. Jodie's given us a good one. Thank you. What wisdom can you apply to this situation? It's lovely. Yeah. So what wisdom can you apply to this situation? What a beautiful question. And propel is great. So Jodie says propel is great. What wisdom can you use to propel yourself forward in this situation? So thank you. Yeah, jump in, everybody. Feel free to jump in with questions now that are coming up for you. So what we're saying is, what strengths can you call upon to help you in this situation? That's a lovely question. It's a great question that you can definitely ask. But if we're trying to take our questions to the next level, in terms of if you're stretching to higher levels of International Coaching Federation core competencies, then doing this exercise makes your questions more powerful. It has a lot more powerful effect, a much more powerful effect on the clients that we're coaching as well. Obviously, that's why we're doing it. So you might get questions like, what strengths will you depend upon to assist you? You could go with, what qualities is it essential for you to summon to enable you to grow throughout this situation? Now that kind of question, I laugh at it because I did come up with it. But I know for sure that if you're coaching at the higher levels and you're being assessed for ICF competencies, the assessors will knock you down on that one because it's too long-winded. So what qualities is it essential for you to summon to enable you to grow in this situation? Way too long-winded. But have a look what happens if we actually deconstruct that long-winded question and we actually stick to just what we actually need. We can come up with quite a powerful question, actually, which is, what essential qualities will enable the situation? And I love that. Or what essential qualities can you draw on to enable the situation? So, but just sticking with what essential qualities will enable the situation is a lovely, direct, and very powerful question. And of course, we're talking about the coachee's essential qualities or essential strengths, or others' essential qualities and strengths that will enable the situation. So it's got everything it needs there. It's got calling upon, it's got enablement, it's got really, we're drawing on qualities which actually helps the coachee dig a lot deeper in their coaching as well. Alrighty, I need to pause, obviously. Let me know if you're thinking about anything, if any questions are popping up. There's no wrong or right answers. This is what I love. I beg your pardon, there's no wrong or right questions, is there, in this situation? It's just really great to experiment. Like, really, if you take the ingredients of cheesecake and you put them on a plate, you can't really go wrong with it. In the end, it's all delicious and it all ends up in your mouth. So it's a bit like that with questions. As long as you keep your questions open and you have a play with them, of course they've got to make sense, don't they? We're not going to do there's some ridiculous combinations of food which don't just make sense. So there'll be some ridiculous combinations of words that you use in your questions that don't make sense, but it's good to play with. Beverly says, very valuable questions to really, lovely. Beverly says, very valuable questions to really help our lower performers here in customer service to draw out their strengths. Thanks, Bev. Yeah, I like them. Like, you can take this question and play with it and see which ones resonate with different people. So different people in your customer service area will respond to different questions. You've got a great opportunity just to really, really try them out. Yeah, great. Thank you. Kim asks, is there a recommended guidance on how long a question should ideally be? You're probably asking the wrong person, Kim, because, well, actually, you're not asking the wrong person. Look, this is something that I really had to learn because I am a bit, I've talked about this in our Certificate for Workplace and Business Coaching program too. One of the things I really had to learn was to actually shorten my questions. And I have to also watch question stacking as well. So I would ask a question like, so what strengths will you depend upon to assist you, or what strengths can you draw upon? So what I'm actually doing is I'm asking the one question, what strengths will you depend upon to assist you? But then I'm actually backing up the question with another question, which is almost exactly the same. I'm asking almost exactly the same question. So I was stacking my questions, but the second question didn't add any value, and I had to really cut that out as a habit. And I talk about it quite a lot. So that's a long-winded answer, isn't it? So the answer to your question is the guidance on how long a question should ideally be is I would err on the side of shorter questions, more direct questions, more powerful questions. That might be, 6 or 7 words, or like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that question, what essential qualities will enable the situation? It's 7 words, but it's quite short. I mean direct in terms of knocking out the words that are superfluous. And that's something that I really have to do across all of my writing and in my coaching as well, knocking out words that are superfluous because, as you can tell, I love words. Jody offers, where can you best apply your strengths to progress this situation? That's a lovely question. Yeah, thanks for throwing that one in. So she's got the where question. She's got best apply. I love that. So we're talking about how can you best apply this to progress. So we've got momentum moving forward. That's great too. Thank you. Mary Bell says, I do that stacking and it confuses some individuals. Yes, I do too. So she says, I'm going to take this insight as an action for the next week. Mary Bell, I really acknowledge you there. And I really acknowledge you that, because that's what these coaching cafes are all about, is taking an insight and then putting it into our practice the following week. And that's what I do. So I like to go, all right, I'm thinking next week about deconstructing questions. I've presented to you, so obviously I'm thinking about it, but I'm really going to pay some attention to this, and it makes us better coaches. It continues our development, which is really fantastic. Someone, Mary Bell's asked, what's your favourite reconstructed coaching question if you have one? Oh, I'm not sure. I think I would have to go back to this question. Where would you like to focus today, or where would you get the most value today? I do like those kind of questions. They're quite targeted and I use them quite often. So yeah, I don't really have a favorite one, I think, but I do love playing around with this one around what qualities can you draw upon to assist you, or what values can you bring to the situation is a really nice question as well. So I like to play around with those ones as well. I like the kind of questions around what qualities can you bring to the situation, or what qualities can you rely upon, or can you draw upon. I like those questions because we, as you know, and you, all the coaches on the line will know this as well. You know, we really are about trying to bring out the best in the individuals that we're coaching. So if you're talking about drawing on or relying upon, then you're kind of digging in deeper and having them draw those ideas out. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. I'm enjoying your questions. Throw out some more. I know we're right on time now, but let me know what else you're thinking. And just one more thing just before we finish off is that watch out, as I mentioned before, because deconstructing questions can actually change the meaning or the intention. So which is what you might be wanting to achieve. But if you think about our stock question, what options do you have? If you swap that word for thoughts, recommendations, or decision, it's a completely different question. And we can use this to great effect when we're actually coaching for trying to draw people down the garden path, you know, get them to actually have a think about things and then actually make a recommendation or decision. So it's kind of looking for response potential in the coachees that we're coaching. So what options do you have? What thoughts do you have as different? What recommendations do you have? Can you see how my tone drops when I ask the word? So what recommendations do you have? What decision do you have to come to? So we're really looking here at changing those words, and they're going to change the intention. I've gone from options through to decisions here. That's a very different question. Oh, beautiful question. Thank you, Jody. She's really throwing in some great ones today. Well, you always throw in great questions, but today you're doing great. I'm really enjoying them. Thank you. Jody says, what insights can clear your path here? What a beautiful question. So what insights can clear your path here? I love it. I'm writing it down. And, you know, what you can do with these questions when you write them down is next time you're coaching, just throw them out there. If the moment actually, you know, seems right and the question seems like it's going to work, if intuitively it works, then you could ask that. What insights could clear your path here? What strengths could you call upon to clear your path here? Lovely. Lovely. Thank you. All right. Well, I know it goes so quickly, our time together. Oh, there you go. Look at all these questions. You can have a play with these. If we had more time, we'd be able to get onto these and have a real play with them. But what's present for you at the moment? Where are you experiencing difficulty? What's the experience of difficulty? What's transpiring for you at the moment? So taking our reality question about what's happening now, you could ask that question, what's happening in this moment? What's going well? What's missing? What's present for you at the moment? I love that question. I use that quite often. So what's present for you at the moment has a beautiful opportunity to draw the person into their center and to gain presence in the moment, to really help them tune into what's going on for them. I probably wouldn't ask what's transpiring for you at the moment, but that's a nice, kind of nice, fancy kind of word of going, what's going on. Yeah, fantastic. All right, feel free to share your ideas as you go along on Facebook, or interact with us, ask questions. If you want to have a play with deconstructing questions, you know, great opportunity to do that on the Facebook site. And of course, I will jump in and play with you there as well and have a bit of stretch our thinking. As always, like Mary Bell was talking about, think about what key actions you can take away, of what you might implement back into your coaching, into the workplace over the next week. And of course, contact us if you need anything. Thanks, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed our presentation today. I've certainly enjoyed, you know, sharing some ideas with you. And I hope you get the opportunity to eat cheesecake on the weekend whilst you're practicing your coaching questions. So happy Friday to you if you're listening live. And I look forward to catching up with you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jody.